I came home from deployment, and my own family had sold my house behind my back. Everything I worked for gone. My dad, my brother, they thought I'd never find out, but they were dead wrong. You won't believe what happened next. Hey, I need to ask you something before we dive in. Imagine you're coming home from deployment, everything you worked for gone. What would you do if your own family sold your house behind your back? Drop your guess in the comments, I'm reading every single one. And hey, if you stick around, hit that subscribe button because what happens next, you will not believe. My name is Riley Hart, Sergeant First Class U.S. Army. 17 years serving my country, 2 divorces, 3 deployments, and 1 dream I kept tucked in my chest like a medal. My house. My little blue home in Savannah, Georgia, the one place that made me breathe easy. So when I finally stepped off that dusty military shuttle last month, duffel slung over my shoulder, I expected the familiar buzz of my parents' old truck, or at least my brother yelling my name like a busted foghorn. Instead, silence greeted me. The kind of quiet that puts a chill in your bones even when the sun is beating down like it owes you money. I called my dad, no answer. My brother Mason, straight to voicemail. Typical, I sighed, shook it off and ordered a rideshare toward my house. The drive felt endless. Every mile made my chest tighten, but not the good kind, more like something heavy was waiting for me. Something I hadn't prepared for, and trust me, I've prepared for things most people only see in movies. When we finally turned onto Banyan Road, I pressed my forehead to the window. The yard looked different. New flowers, new porch furniture, and the creepiest detail of all, my American flag was gone. Not folded, not inside. Gone. A little laugh slipped out of me, but the tired kind, not the funny kind. Maybe Dad got enthusiastic with landscaping, I muttered, even though the words tasted like a lie. I hauled my bags out, heart thudding. A sleek grey SUV sat in the driveway, definitely not mine. My stomach dipped. I rang the doorbells. A woman I had never seen in my entire life opened the door. Bright eyes, warm smile, holding a coffee mug like she owned the place. Because she did. Yes, can I help you? I blinked. This is my house. She frowned in genuine confusion. Sweetheart, I bought this place 6 weeks ago. I let out a short laugh, not the ha-ha kind, the you've got to be kidding me kind. No, you didn't. She gently shook her head. I'm sorry, but I did, from your father. He said you were moving out permanently. My chest cracked right open. My father. My own father. Heat rose up my neck. I felt my pulse in my ears. Mason, my brother, was he here? Did he sign something? Yes, she said softly. Your father said he had full authority to handle all paperwork. He showed documents, power of attorney, deeds. I checked them, they looked official. They always look official when the liar knows just enough to be dangerous. I stepped back, gripping my bag handle until my knuckles turned white. My keys didn't work anymore. I tried anyway. The lock stared back at me, cold and unrecognizing. A bitter rush of laughter escaped me. My whole throat burned. Ha, they really did it. The words fell out like gravel. The woman's face softened. You didn't know. I was deployed, I said slowly. My family knew exactly when I'd be home, exactly when I couldn't fight back. A car turned into the street, a beat-up old truck, my dad's. My heart hammered. Dad got out, and for the first time in my life, he wouldn't look at me. That told me everything. Everything. He muttered, Riley, I was gonna call. Yeah, my voice cracked. Before or after you sold my house? The air around us felt heavy enough to crush a mountain. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, Mason stepped out of the passenger side. His eyes were bloodshot, twitchy, guilty. A single truth hit me so hard it nearly dropped me. They didn't do this by accident. Before I could speak, Dad said, we had no choice. My stomach twisted. People say betrayal feels like a knife. This felt like the whole Blade factory. But I hadn't even heard the real reason yet. And trust me when I did. Everything I thought I knew about my family burned to ash. I thought losing my home was the worst thing that could happen. I was wrong, because the truth about why they sold it, that nearly destroyed me. Dad stood there at the edge of the driveway like he was scared the ground might swallow him. Mason leaned against the truck, rubbing his arms, jittery as a rabbit on a highway. Something inside me tightened, an old instinct that never lies. The same instinct that's kept me alive in places where a wrong step can erase your whole name from the earth. I dropped my duffel bag, the thud echoing louder than I expected. "Start talking," I said. Dad finally met my eyes, and the look in his was hollow. No spark, no fight, just a sagging kind of guilt that made the air crackle with dread. "Riley, it wasn't supposed to happen like this." I scoffed. "You sold my home, how else was it supposed to happen?" Mason flinched. He always hated conflict, but guilt looked different on him, more desperate, more broken. "I'm sorry, Rye," he whispered. "I swear I didn't want it to get this bad." I let out a tired laugh that tasted like salt. "Bad? Dude, you changed the locks on me while I was overseas. I can't even pee in my own bathroom." Something sharp twisted in his expression, and he looked away. That's when Dad said it. It was the only way to pay off Mason's situation. My jaw clenched. I already knew it wasn't a small situation from the way Mason's hands trembled like he'd been hiding behind fear for months. "What situation?" I asked, though a heavy sigh already pushed at my chest. Dad swallowed. "Mason owed money." Owed who? But the second the words left my mouth, the truth hit me like cold water down the spine. Mason choked out, "People who don't wait long, people who don't knock softly." A sting shot through my stomach. Not again. I'd seen this pattern since we were kids, Mason falling into messes and Dad bailing him out with excuses and borrowed money. But this, selling my house, that was a hurricane-level mess. I stared at Mason, voice trembling. "You picked the one thing you knew meant everything to me. Why?" He ran a hand through his hair and his voice cracked like thin ice. "I thought I'd fix it before you got home. I swear, I thought I'd win the money back." "Wind." The word sliced right through me. "Gambling," I whispered. His silence answered for him. A bitter ache crawled up my throat. I felt heat sting my eyes, the embarrassing kind of burn you try to blink away before someone sees. That house was my deployment sanity, my one damn anchor. Dad stepped closer like he wanted to hug me, but the moment he moved, I stepped back. He froze. "Riley," he said, voice shaking, "your brother was in danger, real danger. I had to choose." I laughed, sharp, broken, painful. "And you chose him over me." Dad's shoulders slumped. "I thought I had the legal right, the papers looked valid." I snapped, "Papers don't take my full name, rank and signature, Dad. They don't magically sign themselves." Something flickered in his eyes, guilt, fear, shame. He murmured, "I never thought she'd move in so fast." My heart dropped. "You thought you'd sell it, get the money, pay the debt then? What, reverse the sale, buy it back? Tell me something magical like that." He didn't answer, and that silence hit harder than any fist I've ever taken. Behind us, the new owner, the woman with the warm coffee and the kind eyes, stepped out onto the porch, hesitant. She could probably feel the storm brewing from miles away. "I didn't know any of this," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." I nodded, swallowing hard. Not her fault. None of this was hers. Dad wiped his face. He'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. "I was trying to protect your brother." "And who," I asked softly, painfully, "was protecting me?" No one spoke. Not Dad. Not Mason. Not even me. Because deep down, some part of me always knew I was the one holding this family together, and they let go the second I wasn't home to carry the weight. But the twist I didn't see coming, the one that changed everything, was still waiting in the shadows. Something worse than a sold house, worse than debt, worse than betrayal. I thought the danger ended at the front door, but what my dad confessed next made the ground tilt under my feet. Turns out, the house wasn't the only thing Mason put on the line, he put me on it too. Dad's face shifted into something I'd never seen before. Not anger, not guilt, not even fear. It was the look of a man who knew he'd crossed a line he couldn't ever uncross. And the second he opened his mouth, my pulse kicked into overdrive. "Riley, the people Mason borrowed from, they knew about you." My heartbeat stuttered. Knew about me how? The words came out sharp, like they were trying to cut through the tension hanging between us. Mason pushed off the truck, his whole body shaking. He wouldn't look at me, which told me everything before he even spoke. They used your name, Rye, your rank. They thought if you came back and found out about the money, I'd have help. I blinked hard. Help, Mason, you dragged my military record into your debt. Are you insane? He let out a broken breath. I never meant for it to go that far. It felt like a string snapped inside my chest. Go that far? You don't even know how far you went. Dad rubbed his forehead like he was trying to erase the moment. They threatened him. They said if the debt wasn't paid in 30 days, they'd collect by other means. A cold sensation slid down my spine. I'd been in firefights where adrenaline drowned out fear, but this made fear sit in the front seat of my thoughts, kicking the dashboard. And what did you think? I asked softly, too softly. That they'd come after me at my base, my work, my life? Dad looked away. That told me the answer was yes. I took a shaky breath, but it didn't steady anything. Say it, you really thought they might show up for me? Mason's voice cracked. I didn't know what to do. They kept asking when you'd be back, how close we were, what kind of money you had saved if you'd help cover it. They thought a soldier would pay up fast. A bitter laugh slipped through my teeth. That's wild. They don't know soldiers at all. We don't have money, we have trauma and discount coupons. Neither of them smiled. My chest tightened, not the funny kind. Then Dad added the part that made my knees loosen, like they might just give up. They had pictures of you. My breath caught. Pictures. From your social media, old posts, stuff they dug up. They knew your schedule better than I did. I stepped back instinctively, like the threat was still here, still watching. Dad clenched his fists. That's why I sold the house. I thought, if I could get the money fast, they'd go away. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to scare you while you were overseas. A sigh escaped me, heavy enough to bend steel. You sold the wrong thing, Dad. You should have sold the damn truck, the boat, the garage tools, anything but the one place I bled for. He opened his mouth, but I kept going. The floodgates were open and my emotions had their own agenda. You didn't just sell my house, you sold my safety net, my peace, my future. Mason covered his face with both hands. His voice came out muffled and trembling. Rye, I swear I didn't know they were digging into your life. I swear on everything. I swallowed hard. You didn't know because you didn't want to know. Silence thickened around us, heavy, ugly, real. The new homeowner stood on the edge of the porch, looking stunned, like she'd accidentally walked into a movie she didn't sign up for. I turned toward her. I need to see the paperwork you were given. She nodded quickly. Of course, come in. Dad reached out, a soft, desperate motion. Please don't involve the police yet. I froze mid-step. Yet, I whispered. Something flickered behind his eyes, fear, the deep, drowning kind. And that's when I realized the truth. He wasn't asking for mercy, he was asking for time. Time for what? To fix things, to hide things, or to keep me from discovering something even worse. I didn't know. Not yet. When I stepped inside that house, my house, and saw the documents laid out on the kitchen table, I realized my family hadn't just lied. They'd forged something that could put all of us behind bars, and I was the one who had to untangle the mess before it buried me alive. Walking back into my house felt like stepping into someone else's life. The smell was different, lavender instead of my old cedar candles. The furniture wasn't mine. The photos on the wall weren't my memories. It was like the house had erased me and replaced me with strangers. The new owner, Emily, guided me into the kitchen. Kind woman, steady voice, but I could feel how nervous she was. Anyone would be, watching a soldier walk through their home like a ghost, revisiting her grave. She laid out the documents on the table. There they were. Papers with my name typed clean and sharp. Forms showing my signature. A power of attorney I never signed. A seller's authorization that made my stomach turn inside out. My breath tangled in my throat. This is fake, I whispered. Emily bit her lip. I suspected something was off, but everything matched county records, or I thought it did. My eyes burned as I picked up the signature page. The loop on the R was wrong. The slant was wrong. The letters looked stiff, shaped by someone who had seen my signature enough times to mimic it, but not enough times to nail it. Dad's voice came from behind me. Riley, let me explain. Explain what? My voice cracked like a snapped bone. Which of you forged my signature, you or Mason? Mason's voice shook as he spoke. Dad handled the paperwork, I was there. You were there, I repeated softly. You watched him sign my name and you let him. The hurt inside me rose like water in a sinking ship. It pressed against my ribs, my throat, my eyes. My whole body felt tight with disbelief and heartbreak. Emily pointed to a page. This part here, the mortgage release statement. I didn't understand it fully, but it seemed odd. I stared at it. A line claiming the mortgage had been paid in full. But my VA loan was nowhere near paid off. My knees nearly buckled. Dad, I whispered, voice thin as air, you falsified a federal-backed loan document. His face drained of color. I thought it would get approved fast so we could fix it later. You can't fix a federal felony later. I slammed my palm on the table, and the sound cracked through the room. Tears blurred my vision, but I didn't wipe them. Letting them fall felt like honesty finally winning a tiny battle against the lies. Emily stepped closer, timid but determined. I'm not pressing anything against you, Riley. You're a victim here. I just want the truth. Mason let out a trembling breath. Ry, they were calling every hour, threatening. I panicked. Dad panicked. We made the wrong call. You didn't make a call, I whispered with a hollow laugh. You made a crime scene. Dad looked at me with the eyes of a man who finally realized the cliff he had dragged us all toward. His voice cracked. I was trying to save your brother. And you almost ruined my entire career, I shot back. Do you know what the army does if they find out my signature, been forged on a federal document? They think I'm involved. They think I'm lying. They think I'm a criminal. Dad's face twisted, and he stepped forward as if distance alone was killing him. I never meant for that. But intentions don't undo damage. Intentions don't unfalsify documents. Intentions don't put my name back on the deed. I sank into one of the chairs, my chair once, someone else's now, and stared at the mess. My life, my family, my future, all reduced to ink and bad decisions. A tremor passed through me, not fear this time, something colder, a sense of responsibility I didn't ask for but had no choice except to carry. Emily, I said, voice steadying, I'm gonna fix this, but before I can, I need you to tell me something honestly. She nodded. Anything. When you bought this house, did either of them tell you why they needed the money so fast? Her silence punched air right out of my lungs. Behind me, I heard Mason whisper a curse under his breath. Dad closed his eyes like he was bracing for impact. And that told me the truth was bigger, nastier, deeper than even I imagined. Emily finally told me what my father and brother told her, and hearing it made something inside me snap. Because they didn't just lie to her to sell the house, they used my military service in the dirtiest way imaginable. Emily hesitated, fingers twisting around the hem of her sweater like she was scared the truth might bite. I could feel the tension building in the room. It wrapped around my spine and crawled up my neck. Everyone was too quiet, too still, like the house itself was waiting to see who would break first. She finally said it. They told me you were missing overseas. My heart just froze. Emily swallowed hard. They said you'd gone MIA on a deployment, that you weren't expected to come back, and that the house needed to be sold before the bank took it because you weren't here to help. Dad shut his eyes. Mason looked like he'd been punched in the throat. My blood turned into something fiery and poisonous. MIA, missing, as in presumed dead. They sold my house by pretending I was a ghost. I felt this sharp laugh scrape out of me, the kind that didn't sound human, Maury like a wound trying to speak. So you told a complete stranger I vanished on foreign soil, that I probably wasn't gonna return, that I was gone. Dad whispered I only meant. Stop talking, my voice cracked like a whip. Just stop. The floor felt unsteady. My breath shook. My fingers tingled like electricity was crawling under my skin. I had spent years pushing through sandstorms, gunfire, and nights where the air itself felt like fear, but nothing hit me like this. Nothing prepared me for the feeling of being erased by the people I loved. Emily sighed, rubbing her forehead. I only believed it because you were in the army and the paperwork looked official. They even had a letter saying they were handling your affairs. It felt legitimate. A forged letter, claiming I was missing in action, claiming they were acting as my next of kin. Something deep inside me broke, not loudly, not dramatically, just a soft internal snap like a small branch under too much weight. I turned to Dad. Do you have any idea what kind of hell that lie could unleash? If the army heard about that rumor, they would have launched an investigation into my disappearance. Military police knocking at my door, command thinking I deserted, my career gone. Dad was trembling, actually trembling. I was drowning Riley. The loan sharks were threatening Mason. I couldn't think straight. And you chose to bury me to save him. My voice cracked, thin as glass. Mason stepped forward. Rye, I didn't know Dad told her that, I swear. I thought he said you were deployed, not missing. Deployed, I shot him a glare. That doesn't magically give you the right to sell my house either. He flinched, shoulders shaking. I leaned back against the counter, trying to breathe through the static rushing in my ears. My heartbeat felt like a fist slamming inside my chest. Emily stood there with wide, guilty eyes. Riley, I am so sorry if I had known. You were lied to, I said softly. You're not the villain here. Dad's voice wavered. I didn't think you'd ever find out. There it was. The most honest sentence he'd said all day. Because that's what betrayal is at its core. A gamble that the person you hurt will never make their way back to the truth. I closed my eyes, my lungs hurt, my throat burned. I need the truth, everything, no holding back. What else did you two do? Dad hesitated. Mason looked at the floor. Emily bit her lip again. And then Emily said quietly, there was something else, something about your life insurance. My stomach flipped. Life insurance. My life insurance. Dad grabbed the edge of the counter, as if his legs gave out. Mason muttered a curse under his breath. The room went dead silent. The moment I heard what they did with my life insurance, I realized selling my house was only the beginning, and the next truth nearly sent me to my knees. I expected the interrogation room to smell like fear or bleach. Instead, it smelled like burnt coffee and somebody's cheap cologne, the kind guys wear when they're trying to impress HR. The fluorescent light flickered above me, buzzing like a lazy wasp. I sat there with my hands steady on the table, but inside everything was shaking. My breath, my thoughts, the fragile line between who I was and who they said I was. Captain Rourke walked in first. Big guy, too big ego. He shut the door with a little slam that said he enjoyed his job way more than he should. 2 agents followed, civilian clothes, government badges, expressions carved out of cold stone. They weren't here for conversation. They were here to peel me like an onion. Rourke leaned in. You know what you did? He asked. I let out a breath that wasn't sure if it wanted to be a laugh or a breakdown. Depends who you think I am. The smaller agent, Hale, I think, set a folder on the table. Thick, heavy, my whole stolen life packed into pages. She opened it and a photograph slid out, me, except not me, too young, too soft in the face, almost like a prototype model before the real version was sent out into the world. This is you, she said. No, I replied, steady, too steady. That's the person you think I replaced. Rourke scoffed and sat. Stop pretending, we know you were inserted under Project Evergreen. The name hit me like someone slapped me in the chest with a wet towel. Evergreen, the secret program Mom told me never existed, the one that allegedly died before I was born, the one tied to children who disappeared. My throat tightened, so Evergreen wasn't shut down. Hale watched my face too carefully. Tell us what you know. I can't tell you what I don't remember. My voice cracked and it angered me. I swallowed the break and kept going. All I know is someone stole my childhood and sold me a name that wasn't mine. The other agent, Morales, finally spoke. You were engineered to replace a missing federal witness. Her identity gave you protection, but then someone started digging, someone with access. My muscles stiffened. The general. Hale shook her head. Not just him. Rourke slid another photo toward me. I didn't want to look, but my eyes moved anyway. My father, the man who raised me, smiling in a backyard that now felt like a crime scene. Morales tapped the picture gently, too gently. He wasn't just your guardian, he was assigned to monitor you. The room swayed, The chair under me dissolved, my lungs forgot how to behave, the air tasted metallic like panic melting on my tongue. I whispered, "He lied to me." Hale hesitated, which scared me more than the truth. "He did to keep you safe, but the threat he was hiding you from, it was evergreen." Rourke leaned closer. "It was someone inside your own family." The floor dropped out from under me. My pulse hammered in my ears, loud and furious, the way thunder sounds when it hits close enough to shake the windows. All the years I spent wondering where I came from suddenly twisted into something uglier, more dangerous. My voice barely escaped. "Who?" Morales closed the folder. "We're taking you to meet them." My stomach turned. I wasn't ready. I wasn't built for this, but the door opened anyway and 2 guards motioned for me to move. I stood, my knees wobbled but didn't fold, my breath trembled but stayed alive, and somewhere deep inside something fierce woke up, a stubborn little flame refusing to die. As they led me down the hall, the walls felt tighter, the air colder, like the building itself wanted to swallow me. I didn't know what waited behind the next door, but I knew it wasn't mercy. Nothing in the world could have prepared me for the face waiting behind that door, the face that shouldn't have been alive at all. The hallway felt like it went on forever, each step heavier than the last, the kind of walk you take when you already know life won't look the same on the other side. My palms were damp, my tongue felt thick, my heartbeat was running its own military sprint, refusing to follow orders. The guards stopped at a steel door with a narrow window, the kind that makes you feel like you're about to meet a ghost. Then the door opened, and I wished it had been a ghost. She sat in the center of the room, small frame, sharp eyes, silver hair braided neatly like she'd walked straight out of a memory I was never allowed to have. Her face hit me like a punch I didn't dodge in time. There was something painfully familiar in the curve of her cheek, the angle of her jaw. My stomach twisted so hard I felt my ribs shake. "Close the door," she said softly, but her voice had a command buried inside it like steel covered in velvet. The guards obeyed without question. It made something in me flinch. I stepped inside, legs unsteady, breath scattered. Who are you?" She didn't answer, she just stared, and that stare crawled right under my skin, hunting places that had always felt empty. When she finally spoke, her words sliced clean. "They told you I was dead, didn't they?" My whole body went weak. Yes, my mother died when I was a baby, that's what I was told." She let out a small, broken sound that started like a laugh but ended like pain. "They hid me because they needed you to forget me." My voice cracked. "Forget what?" She inhaled slowly like she was choosing which truth would hurt least. "Forget that I survived Evergreen. Forget that you weren't stolen, you were smuggled out." The room blurred. Her words hit me so fast I couldn't tell where one heartbreak ended and the next one started. Smuggled out, survived Evergreen, mother alive, every word rewrote my bloodstream. "You're saying," I whispered. "Yes," she said, "I'm your mother." The world didn't just tilt, it spun. My knees nearly gave out, and I grabbed the back of a chair to fight gravity. A hot wave rolled through my chest, this mix of fury and relief and disbelief that tangled together like a live wire in my throat. She kept talking, voice trembling like a windowpin in a storm. "They took you to protect you. Evergreen didn't just manipulate identities, they harvested them. They needed children with certain traits. You were born in the program, but I refused to let them keep you. Your father and I planned your escape." My heart lurched. My father, he knew. She nodded, eyes glistening. "He never lied to hurt you. He lied to keep you hidden. Someone inside the agency wanted you erased." My pulse stuttered. "Who?" She looked down, voice dropping to almost nothing. "My sister." Cold shot through my spine so fast I felt dizzy. My aunt, my blood, the same person who used to send me birthday cards with glitter that stuck to my fingers for days. "She was part of Evergreen," my mother said. "She believed the project was the future. She believed you belonged to them." Everything inside me twisted into tight, choking knots. Betrayal didn't feel like a word anymore. It felt like a bruise that had been waiting years to form. I took a shaky step toward her. "Why come forward now? Why not years ago?" Her voice broke completely. "Because she's looking for you again. And this time she isn't coming for an experiment. She's coming for revenge." My breath snagged. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Something primal lit up inside me. Fear sharpened by anger, anger fueled by love I didn't know I still had. Before I could respond, alarms erupted through the facility, because the person hunting me had just walked through the front gate. I still remember the smell of my house the first time I stepped back inside after everything. Dust floating in the sunbeams, boxes stacked where they didn't belong, and that eerie quiet. It hit me all over again. But this time it didn't feel like defeat. It felt like reclaiming. I sank onto the edge of my own bed, closed my eyes, and finally let the tears roll. Not the kind of tears that make you weak, but the kind that cleanse, that make you feel alive again. The weeks after the legal battle were insane. Calls, paperwork, meetings with lawyers, the bureaucracy made my head spin. But each time I signed a document or got a call confirming that my father and brother's little scheme wouldn't stick, I felt a surge of power. I laughed sometimes at how ridiculous the whole thing had been. I mean, my own brother thinking he could pull one over on me. It's almost funny now, almost. Neighbors started peeking over their fences, whispering. I caught one of them trying to get a rise out of me, thinking I'd crumble. Instead, I smiled at her, that sly grin that says, "Yeah, you see what I went through." There's something wild about standing strong when the world thinks you're broken. It's like discovering a secret muscle you never knew existed. My friends from Okinawa called me non-stop, joking that I should start my own reality show at this point. And honestly, I considered it. I walked through the living room one evening and noticed the sun hitting the hardwood floors just right. Memories of happy dinners, laughter, even arguments, they were all there, all mine, and I realized something. The house wasn't just wood and nails, it was me, my effort, my sweat, my love. And no amount of betrayal, no scheme, no lies could ever take that away. But here's the thing, it wasn't just about the house. It was about reclaiming myself, my boundaries, my voice. I set rules, big red lines that even family couldn't cross again. It hurt letting go of the idea of normal family, but honestly the freedom I gained, priceless. I could breathe again without guilt or fear. Even now I get flashbacks sometimes. A text from my brother, a memory of my father's smirk. But they don't have power anymore. I own my story, I own my life. And I've started sharing it, hoping maybe someone else, sitting in their own darkness, will hear my voice and think, yeah, I can do this too. I've started small routines, celebrating little victories, treating myself without guilt. Pizza Fridays alone, long drives blasting my favorite songs, laughing at old sitcoms that make no sense, but make me happy anyway. There's healing in simplicity, in reclaiming joy. The twist, life throws curveballs even after you think the storm is over. I got a call last month, a stranger from my old neighborhood, someone who witnessed everything, telling me my father and brother tried the same trick on another family. Can you believe it? But this time I smiled. Not in anger, not in fear, but in knowing I'm out of their reach now. I don't have to fix their chaos. I don't have to carry it anymore. Standing in my kitchen that evening, sipping a cup of coffee, I finally whispered to myself, I survived, I thrived, and I'm not done yet. And honestly, there's a fire in me now that betrayal could never ignite, a light that keeps me moving forward. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much someone tries to steal your home, your trust, or even your name, they can't steal your spirit. And that's where real strength lives. Tell me something. Where are you listening from tonight? Drop it in the comments, because this space, we built it together. We've become a little family here, lifting each other up through stories like this. I'll be reading every single one, so come sit with us. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe so you never miss a night with this family.